Subscribe to Man Told for more stories. Now let's begin this one. $850,000 gone in just 40 minutes. And the only person who knew the password was my wife. That night, I sat in front of my computer, adjusting a financial plan I'd been quietly building for months. The goal, simple: buy a new ring, propose to Emily again on our 15th anniversary. I wanted her to know. Time can take away excitement, but it can't take away the love I have for her. Out in the living room, an old jazz tune played from the Bluetooth speaker. On the table, my coffee sat half cold. Everything was calm. Until my phone buzzed. Email subject: retirement account activity notice. I opened it, and my eyes locked on the number. Current balance, $17.43. It felt like someone had pulled all the air out of the room. My heart raced. My ears rang. Only one thought kept repeating. What the hell is going on? I grabbed my laptop, logged in. Every cent, over $850,000. Transferred to a bank in a state I'd never set foot in. Transaction time, 8:42 p.m., not even 40 minutes ago. Before I could react, my phone buzzed again. A credit card alert. Transaction declined. Grand Royale Hotel, Las Vegas. I froze. Emily was supposed to be in Chicago. I called her. 3 rings, then silence. A text came through. Don't call me. I know what you're doing. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. The words, short, cold, like a blade. I almost called again. But then, a bitter thought crept in. Maybe, for 15 years, I was nothing more than the keeper of her safe. And I didn't know it then. But losing the money was just the tip of the iceberg. What was waiting underneath was far, far worse. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a regular working-class family. My dad drove long-haul trucks. My mom worked at the library. We never had much money, but they taught me 2 things. If you make a promise, you keep it. And every dollar you earn, you spend wisely. Maybe that's why I bonded with numbers early on. I met Emily in 2005 at an economics conference in Atlanta. I was there to present on financial risk management. She was representing a media company. When I talked about finding choke points in cash flow, she didn't just listen. She asked me, if the person creating the risk was the one you trusted most, what would you do? Back then, I just smiled. In business, I trust numbers more than people. I didn't know that sentence would come back to haunt me. We fell in love fast. Emily was smart, quick-witted, the kind of woman who could light up any party. Me, I was quiet. I liked being home. I liked planning things out. Once, she got an offer to work in New York. I was about to be promoted to department head in Charlotte. We stayed up all night talking, and in the end, I turned down the promotion so she could chase her dream in New York. I followed her there, found a new job, started over, because I believed her happiness was the priority. Later, when we moved back to Charlotte, I bought her the house she'd always dreamed of. White picket fence, rose garden, a big kitchen for her weekend cooking. Every morning, I made her coffee. 1 spoon of sugar, 1 of heavy cream, stirred 3 times clockwise. She said that was the perfect taste. Before every work trip, she'd leave a note on my desk. I'll miss you. Little things like that made me believe we were solid. Even when her trips got longer and more frequent, I told myself it just meant her career was taking off. But about 6 months before that night, things shifted. Emily stopped asking about the financial plans I sent her. Instead of how much is left in our retirement fund, she started talking about a new investment opportunity with some colleagues. One night at dinner, her phone kept buzzing. She glanced at the screen, frowned, and stepped into the bedroom to take the call. When she came back, she said, "Just work stuff." I didn't push. One morning, I was about to email her the updated retirement plan. The email bounced back. Her work address had been changed. I figured it was just an IT thing. But that night, I saw her change the password on her laptop. And for the first time, she shut the screen as soon as I walked in. I should have paid more attention, but I didn't. Because I believed my wife would never do anything to hurt me. Emily had a way of making distance feel lighter. Even with her packed travel schedule, she sent me pictures. A cappuccino on a hotel balcony, a street full of lights, a smile across a dinner table. I saved them all in a folder on my laptop. I named it home. but away. But lately, that folder grew thin. Her texts got shorter. Busy? Don't wait up. Late meeting? Sleep well. Fewer evening calls. And when I called her, she was at dinner with clients or just got back to the room, exhausted. I told myself it was just work pressure. We'd survived harder times. In 2012, I was in a car accident. Broke my leg. Out of work for almost 6 months. Emily's career was climbing fast back then. But she cut back on contracts, came home, and took care of me. Every meal, every dose of medicine. Every night, she sat by my bed and read me market news. Partly to keep me from falling behind, partly to keep my spirits up. Back then, I thought, this is the woman I'll protect for the rest of my life. That memory is why I ignored the small changes. 3 months before everything fell apart, she asked me one morning, "Do you think we've kept this house for too long?" I frowned. Why? I just think we should be lighter. Nobody comes over anymore. The living room's just collecting dust. I joked, "If we sell, I'm keeping that white fence." She laughed, but didn't answer. A week later, the secondary credit card was declined at the grocery store. I found out she'd opened a new card in her own name. She said it was for reward points. I believed her. One night, as I was reviewing numbers, she came up behind me, resting her hand on my shoulder. "If one day we lost all our retirement savings, what would you do?" I chuckled. "Why ask that? Just curious?" She kissed my cheek and walked away. The question lingered, but I didn't dwell on it. The day before her Chicago trip, I helped her pack. Looking for her phone charger, I found an envelope in her bag. With a Las Vegas hotel logo, I hesitated, holding it up. She saw it, smiled. "Oh, that? Just a flyer. Who works in Vegas, right?" Then she closed the suitcase. Fast. Firm. If I had put the pieces together back then, the retirement question, the new credit card, the talk about selling the house, the Vegas envelope, I might have seen the picture forming. But I didn't. I trusted her. And when you trust the wrong person, the storm doesn't just hit. It takes everything before you can even breathe. The next day, I drove her to the airport. She left a small note on the kitchen counter. "Don't stay up too late. I'll call you." I smiled, slipped it into my wallet, not knowing it would be the last message I'd ever get from Emily before it all collapsed. The laptop screen flashed the numbers. Current balance, $17.43. I just sat there, frozen, my mind blank, a dull ringing in my ears. My hand moved on its own, knocking over the half-cold coffee onto the keyboard. The brown liquid spread across Emily's note. "Don't stay up too late." I pushed the chair in closer, logged into the transaction history. 6 transfers, all split up, all in under 40 minutes. Everyone sent to a small regional bank, out west. 2-factor authentication, sent to a secondary email under Emily's name. Created just 2 months ago. A chill ran down my spine. I remembered the night she changed her laptop password, said it was work stuff. I believed her. Now, the pieces were starting to fall into place. I called the bank's emergency line. The night shift rep was calm, but each word landed like a hammer. "We can confirm this is high-risk activity. Some of the funds have already arrived at the destination." I told them to freeze whatever was left. "Send me the confirmation." Attach the transaction log. My fingers shook against the keys. Phone buzz. New credit card application, pending approval. Name on the account, Christopher and Emily Morgan. I hadn't signed a thing. In my head, I saw a pipe drilled with holes, money spilling out faster than I could plug them. I opened my credit app. 3 new applications in the past 48 hours. Mailing address, my house. I hit report, not me. I tried calling Emily, no answer. The text bubble showed read. I called the Grand Royale Hotel in Las Vegas. When I gave Emily's name, there was a pause on the other end. Then, "I'm sorry, we can't provide guest information." Polite, cold. Even then, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a mix-up. Maybe she was too busy to explain. Part of me wanted to believe that, but another part feared the truth would bury 15 years of marriage. The phone rang. Andrew, my best friend. "Chris, you still up?" I gave him the short version. He was quiet. Then, "I'm in Vegas tonight, shooting an event. I saw Emily in the hotel lobby with a guy. They looked close." My grip tightened around the phone, knuckles turning white. Andrew hesitated. "I'm sorry." I sank into the chair. The jazz from the speaker, the saxophone line catching, like short, shallow breaths. But that wasn't the worst part. When Andrew hung up, I opened our shared file cabinet. I don't make a habit of going through my wife's things, but that night, I needed answers. Inside a thin folder, I found a copy of an open house invite for a home in another suburb. In the corner, a note in handwriting. Buyer, Emily and Daniel R. Daniel R. Daniel Rhodes. The name I'd seen on an open house flyer in the trash a few weeks back. The earlier chill turned into something heavy, clinging to my chest. I snapped a photo and sent it to Harris, a lawyer friend. Less than 5 minutes later, he called. His voice firm. First, lock down every account and credit line, save every piece of evidence. Second, no emotional confrontations. If there's signature fraud, the law's on your side. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Simple instructions. Hard to carry out. I shut the drawer, leaned back, tried to take a deep breath, but the air stopped in my chest. The house felt bigger than it ever had. The wind through the doorframe sounded like someone whispering on the porch. Phone buzz. Bank text. Your account has been temporarily frozen for investigation. I exhaled. Then my hands clenched again. It was just a bandage. The wound was still bleeding where I couldn't see. I turned on the desk lamp, opened the laptop, started a spreadsheet. Left column, everything I knew, the wire transfers, the new card applications, the secondary email, the Vegas envelope, the house invite. Right column, the questions. Where is Emily? Who is Daniel R.? Where did the money go? And why me? Listing it out, I realized something chilling. Every action targeted our shared assets, all within the past 3 weeks. Like someone was counting down to leave. Ping. New email. Closing appointment confirmation, $2 P. A. Today. Attachment. A photo of Emily at a broker's desk, signing papers, next to Daniel Rhodes. Timestamp. Yesterday. I shot up from the chair. The seat toppled behind me. I paced the living room like a caged animal, my hand crushing Emily's note until it tore to shreds. I called Harris, my voice raw. I just got a picture. She signed something with Daniel. Yesterday. Save the file. Forward it to me. You're still at home. Yeah. Good. Don't call her. Document every contact. I nodded again, forgetting he couldn't see me. Close to 10 p.m. I sent Emily one message. I know. No question mark. No explanation. Read. In under a minute. Then silence. A silence so heavy. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath. At 3:12 a.m., the phone alert jolted me awake. Email from the Postal Service. Address change request confirmed. New address, almost 2,000 miles away. State, I've never set foot in. Recipient, Christopher and Emily Morgan. I called Harris, even knowing how insane it was at that hour. He picked up on the second ring. Cancel it now. File an address fraud report with the post office. This is how they take over your mail, bank statements, legal notices. If you wait more than 24 hours, you lose the advantage. I followed his instructions step by step, my heart pounding like a hammer. Every mouse click felt like a race against someone I hadn't even looked in the eye yet. I didn't feel like Christopher Morgan anymore. Husband, risk manager. I felt like a number on someone else's spreadsheet. A number crossed out. When the urgent tasks were done, I walked back to the living room. The wedding photo was still there. Me in a black suit, Emily in white. Her smile so bright it didn't know the meaning of betrayal. Next to it, my laptop screen still showing her signing papers with Daniel. 2 images side by side, like a slap in the face. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten. The first sunlight cut through the blinds, splitting the room into sharp halves of light and dark. Phone buzz. Email from the Western Bank. Recipient account, frozen per federal investigation request. I read it over and over, not because it eased me, but because it confirmed something colder. This was no longer just a marriage problem, and in that moment, I knew I'd stepped into a fight where my opponent wasn't just the woman I once loved. It was a plan, measured, numbered, step by step, set in motion, long before I saw it coming. When I got to the office, the sun hadn't fully risen. The glass doors were still fogged over, and on my desk sat a brown envelope, no return address. I glanced around. No one was here. I tore it open. Inside, a single color photo. Me walking out of my house last night, shot from no more than 20 yards away. Under it, a scrawled message. You won't make it in time. I stood frozen for a few seconds, then pulled the blinds to look down at the street. No one, just an old banner hanging on the building across the way. Trust, but verify. For the first time, those words made my skin crawl. I called Harris. Gave him the short version. Don't touch the envelope again. I'll have someone pull prints and analyze the ink. His voice was steady, but I could hear a pause that didn't belong there. Before I could hang up, another call came through. Unknown number. Mr. Morgan. Thomas Klein. I've done a quick sweep on Daniel Rhodes. Aside from a prior real estate fraud conviction, he once carried out a transaction with a woman named Lydia Morgan. 8 years ago. I froze. Lydia, my younger sister, lives in Florida. You're sure? The notarized record has her signature, but looking at the scan, I'd say it's forged. My fist clenched so tight I heard the joints pop. If they were willing to use my family's name 8 years back, this wasn't sudden. This was a plan, cultivated quietly, for years. By midday, an email hit my inbox from an unfamiliar address. Don't make this worse. Let us end it clean. No signature. But the punctuation? I knew it. Emily's. I forwarded it to Harris and Thomas. Thomas replied, property threat. Save it. Don't respond. We'll trace the IP. That afternoon, I drove home to grab some personal files. Mailbox was empty. Not even junk mail. The strange part, the metal at the bottom, still warm. Someone had been there. Minutes ago. Back at the office, I pinned the photo from that morning onto my evidence board. Red string connected it to the house invite, the transfer logs, the photo of Emily with Daniel, the threat email. The room felt smaller, heavier. Phone rang. Andrew. Chris, a man called me, told me not to get involved in your wife's business. Then he read me the exact time of my flight back from Vegas. I swallowed the heat rising in my throat. Andrew hadn't signed up for this marriage, but now he was in it. I stepped out onto the balcony. The city lights came on, each window like a square on a chessboard. I scrolled my contacts, stopped on a name I hadn't called in 4 years. I dialed. When he picked up, I said, I need you. Tonight? That night, I drove to a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. The parking lot glowed under tired yellow sodium lights. A blue pickup flashed its headlights twice, the signal we'd agreed on. Mark Halpern stepped out, heavy coat, bloodshot eyes. We sat in a shadowed booth, stale coffee hanging in the air. Harris gave me the outline, Mark said quietly. If you want the truth, we set a trap. People slip when they think they've already won. The plan was simple and reckless. Open a bait account with just enough money to tempt anyone targeting us. Plant a hidden tracker. Anyone who logs in exposes their IP, their device, their location. 3 days later, at 1:47 a.m., Mark called. We've got a hit. Mobile device. IP from a hotel in Reno. And Chris, the registered Wi-Fi name is Emily Rhodes. Mao. The blood rushed to my temples. My grip slick with sweat. My heart slamming against my ribs. I turned to the window. The street outside empty, but the glow from the lampposts felt colder than it should. Mark sent a screenshot. The words Emily Rhodes blurred, but still sharp enough to crush the last of my hope. Right then, my phone chimed. Security cam alert from home. I opened it. A figure in a dark coat, standing less than 15 feet from my front door. Still, motionless. A minute later, gone. I called Harris. Someone's outside my house. Don't go back. I'll send someone to check. And Chris, that means they know you've started pushing back. That afternoon, when I did return to grab the files, I saw the garage door slightly open. On my desk, another brown envelope. Inside, a USB drive. And a note. Watch it if you dare. I handed it to Mark, told him to open it on an isolated machine. Half an hour later, he called. His voice heavy. It's your 10th anniversary video, but the end's been spliced. With bank transactions, the house sale papers with your signature, and an audio clip of Emily whispering, we started there, and we'll end there. Das. I closed my eyes. The warm, golden wedding room from years ago, now tangled with the cold glare of a laptop screen. Her voice like a lock clicking shut on every door I had left. Mark asked, "Send it to Harris." "Not yet. This is a double-edged blade, and I want to hold it." Night fell. I sat at my desk, the USB in front of me, the desk lamp casting my shadow, and its shadow into one. A text came through from an unknown number. "If you want to know my next move, go to where we began." I stared at the words for a long time, then typed back just 3. "I'm already there." I drove through the morning fog. No music, no GPS. Where we began, the lakeside wooden cafe where I first met Emily. Now, the road there was silent, as if the whole world was holding its breath. When I pulled into the lot, something caught my eye. Wet footprints, clear on the concrete, leading straight to the table by the railing. No one there, but somewhere nearby, the faint, cooling tick of an engine. On the table, a brown envelope. Inside, a copy of the sale contract for our house, along with a notarized power of attorney from a Nevada law firm. Witness name, Daniel Rhodes. A faint rustle behind me made me spin around. From the mist, a tall man stepped forward, gray hair, long coat, eyes cold. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hand tightened around the envelope. "Mr. Morgan," he said, voice low but clear. "Daniel Rhodes." "Good. Let's skip the small talk. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to save you from yourself." I let out a dry laugh. "Save me? By stealing everything I own?" He shrugged, eyes drilling into me. "By taking away the thing that will destroy you, before your wife does it herself." He set a phone on the table. A video played. Emily, in a hotel room, looking straight into the camera. "Chris, stop. There are things you don't know. If you keep going, none of us will be safe." The screen went black. Daniel leaned in, his voice a slow pour of honey, laced with poison. "I knew her before you ever showed up, and I know exactly what she fears most. The thing she's never told you." I stared back, trying to keep my face steady, but my body was coiled, ready to hit or run. Daniel stood, turned his back, then placed something on the table. A small silver key, old, number 17 etched on it. "When you're ready to know the truth, the key will show you the way." He walked off, his shadow swallowed by the fog. I sat there, eyes fixed on the key. 17. A hotel room. Or a locked door in the past I'd never opened. I turned the key in my hand, mind reaching back. 17. The year after our wedding, Emily and I stayed at a seaside resort. That night, she cried in bed, mumbling, "The past will find me, no matter where I go." I thought it was just a nightmare. I drove straight to that resort. New owners. But room 17 still bore the number. A folded bill across the counter got me the key. Inside, the air thick with damp wood and salt. On the desk, an envelope, and a USB. My hands shook as I plugged it in. The video began. Daniel, younger, with his arm around Emily in different places. A beach, a hotel, and finally, outside the Reno courthouse. They signed a paper, hugged like victors. Title of the document, marriage certificate. Date, 3 years before I met Emily. My veins iced over. The image of Emily on our wedding day overlapped with the woman in the video. Smiling at Daniel, my heart slammed. My ears roared. I remembered every odd thing she'd said, every time she dodged my questions about Nevada. The pieces fit now, too perfectly. The door swung open. Emily stood there, hair messy, eyes red. She looked at the USB, then at me. "You weren't supposed to see that." "See." My voice was sharp as I stood. "You were his wife, and you never divorced. All these years, you've looked me in the eye and lied." She stepped in, closing the door, her hand trembling. "You don't understand, Chris. I wanted out. You were my way out. But when you started digging, he came back, and he doesn't just want the money." Before she could go on, footsteps echoed in the hall. Daniel stepped in, slammed the door, turned the lock. His eyes swept over us, like a man who'd already won. "Both of you. Same room? Saves time." He looked at me, smirking. "You think you know your wife? I know every fear, every habit, because I made them. Emily gripped my shoulder, her hand ice cold. Daniel, don't. Quiet, Emily. You've been running 15 years. Tonight, you listen to me. From his coat, he pulled a folding knife and set it on the table. One of you leaves with me, the other forgets everything. Your choice, Chris. I locked eyes with him, while my right hand slid to my phone, hitting record. It had already sent Room 17's location to Mark the moment I unlocked the door. Somewhere outside, faint sirens began to wail. Daniel's brow furrowed. He sensed something. He snatched the knife and took a step toward me. Daniel lunged, the folding knife catching the sickly yellow light. I backed toward the balcony, my spine pressed against the cold glass. His breath was inches from my face. Stale smoke mixed with the tang of metal. You're just a side character in my story with her. I clenched my jaw, stalling for time. If you want this to end, why stage the whole game? Or are you afraid the truth won't take your side? He gave a low, humorless laugh, then suddenly grabbed my collar, shoving me hard toward the balcony edge. Cold wind hit my back. One misstep, and I'd drop onto the stone awning, nearly 10 feet below. Emily screamed, rushing forward. He twisted, one hand choking me, the other holding her back. His eyes lit with a twisted satisfaction. You think I've been watching him for money? No, Emily. I do it so you'll remember. You'll never get away. I shoved hard, throwing him off balance. The knife clattered to the floor, sliding under the bed. We both gasped for breath. Sirens wailed just outside, red and blue light flickering through the curtains. Daniel froze, then smiled. From his coat, he pulled a black USB drive, twirling it between his fingers before tossing it toward me. Keep it. But remember, if you open it, you'll see the real reason she stayed with you. And when you do, everything you think you know dies with your trust. He leaned toward Emily, whispering just enough for me to catch fragments. That day, Reno. Her face went pale. Without another word, he stepped out onto the balcony and disappeared into the night. The door burst open. Police swarmed in. Mark was first, scanning the room. Chris, you all right? I nodded, still gripping the USB. Mark's eyes fell on it, his voice heavy. If it's what I think, it could bury you both. Emily sank to the floor, her hands covering her face. The silence in the room thickened. Only the distant crash of waves breaking it. I looked at her, then at the USB. For the first time in months, I feared the truth more than any lie. Mark closed the door, signaling the officers to head downstairs. 3 people in the room, yet the air felt stripped of oxygen. The sound of the tide rolled in, steady, like a countdown. I set the USB on the table, as if it were live explosives. Emily stayed on the floor, her shoulders trembling. Chris. Her voice cracked, then faltered. Mark looked at me. If you open it, be ready. Once you see it, there's no going back. I nodded. My fingers slick with sweat as I plugged it into the laptop. A single folder appeared. 17, Reno. I clicked. 3 videos. Video 1, Emily and Daniel, younger, standing outside room 17. They clinked glasses. Daniel handed her a thick envelope. The bank logo, one I knew too well. The image overlapped with the memory of the day Emily first opened a joint account, telling me we should start our future. My stomach nodded. Video 2, Daniel at a bar, talking to someone off camera. She'll stay with him long enough to finish. Then we take everything. She owes me, and she knows she can't pay it back with money. I heard Emily inhale sharply, like she wanted to protest, but she stayed silent. Video 3, Emily, alone, eyes red. Chris, if you're watching this, I've probably lost you. I love you. But I used you to find safety from Daniel. I lied because I was afraid, and because I was selfish. You're the only thing that's made me feel human, but I loved you the wrong way. She broke down, covering her face. When the video ended, the black screen felt like a cliff edge. One side forgiveness, the other, leaving for good. Mark closed the laptop. Daniel won't just disappear. He slipped charges 3 times. Always comes back when his victims think they're safe. If you want this to end, you have to move first. Emily looked up, eyes caught between pleading and surrender. Chris, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking you to use it to free yourself, whether that means leaving me or staying. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You two look good together. See you soon. Attached, a photo of me and Emily. In this very room, taken from the ceiling corner. I looked up. A black dot, no bigger than my fingertip, sat in the vent. A camera. My heart pounded. Daniel had never really left, and he was still watching. I held the USB, feeling it as both a weapon and a curse. Emily, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I know one thing. I'm not letting him write the last line of this story. Outside, the waves pounded harder. A real storm pressing in. I left the resort in the early fog, the USB in my coat pocket, feeling like a block of ice. Emily followed a few steps behind, silent. Every time I glanced back, she only lowered her head. Mark was waiting by the car, passenger door open. You can hand it over to the police, or use it to make Daniel trap himself. But remember, he never truly disappears. 3 days later, the news broke. Daniel had been arrested in a warehouse on the edge of town. Cameras caught him trying to force a back door while the place was surrounded. But he still turned, looking straight into the lens with a faint smile. Not a word. But his eyes said it. This wasn't the end. That same afternoon, Emily left. No goodbye. No explanation. On the kitchen table, she left a folded note. Chris, if I stay, we'll both be stuck in the past. If I go, at least you'll have a chance to move forward. Don't come looking. But don't forget that somewhere out there, I'll still be watching. I held that note for a long time. Her handwriting trembled, like someone who was cold, or holding back tears. The day Daniel went to court, I didn't step inside. I stood outside the closed doors, listening to the muffled noise, voices, the gavel striking. And once or twice, I thought I heard my name. Mark came out, his eyes heavy. It's over, or at least this part is. But remember, men like him sometimes still have hands on the outside. I drove to the beach. The wind carried salt and mist into my lungs. The stone bench where we used to sit was still there, damp with spray. I sat down, staring at the horizon, turning red with the sunset. Far out, a small boat, just a black speck, moved slowly, then vanished into the fog. No profound thoughts came to me, just a string of images. Emily's hand in mine the night we met, her smile in that winter cafe, Daniel's eyes through the rain, and the cold weight of the USB in my pocket. I stood when the light began to fade, got back in the car, turned on the radio. An old song came on, the one Emily used to hum while doing the dishes. I almost switched it off, but let it play through. Merging onto the highway, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You haven't won yet. No name. Didn't need one. I knew who it was. I didn't respond. But my hands tightened on the wheel, and my eyes stayed locked on the road ahead. Not because I believed everything was fine, but because I knew this story wasn't over. And next time, I'd be the one choosing where to put the period.